podcast on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network, where every 2 weeks I will be chatting with ordinary people doing extraordinary things on their path to their own finish line.
Haha, there's the right intro. I love that. All right, so welcome to a special episode today, episode 16 of Beyond the Finish Line. And today on the pod, we have my pal, Josh Johnson. Josh is a father, husband, ultra runner, race director of Dyno Racing. Dyno Racing hosts an extensive catalog of ultra and sub-ultra trail races, gravel bike races, adventure races. I think Josh mentioned they have just under 30 events. He'll be able to clarify that. All across the Midwest and Indiana. So if you've been active in the trail running community and in the Midwest, you've most certainly been to a dyno event, and you've probably seen Josh boots on the ground out doing what he does best, putting together these really awesome events with the dyno team. Such a great group of volunteers, the dyno team and the crew that puts all these races together. And in my opinion, and probably a lot of other people's opinions, some of the best races in the area. I met Josh just over a year ago, actually coming up on a year. I did Jackson County 50-50 at the time, 50K 50 miler. It was actually my first ultra distance trail race. And Jackson County always holds a special place in my heart, being my first trail race, being an absolute gem in Indiana trail running. And right away, I met Josh. He made it a point to come up to me and actually talk to me, after the event. And I always thought that was really cool. And it kind of speaks to Josh's character, and just, you can tell he cares what he's doing in the community. Since then, I've had the opportunity to work closely with Josh. I've done some stuff for Dyno with some of their finisher awards and podium stuff. And I had a chance to volunteer at the Tecumseh Trail Challenge. I spent most of the day at the finish line, which is really special. If you ever get a chance to volunteer at one of these events with Dyno and Josh and that crew, please do so. They're awesome and amazing, and it's really special to be a part of. And before we bring Josh forward for this chat, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. So friends of the pod, obviously, as I always say, your support is invaluable. So do us a huge favor. Please like, share, or subscribe to the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. And if you like what you see, just go over and hit that subscribe button, share button, rate, review. Outside of my show, we have 6 other shows and counting. We've got more coming. So there's really cool things coming to the community. We have fireside chats with my buddy and owners of Run Try Bike, Gandhi, Jason Bahumandi. They also host Fire Embers together. Running Tales, my friend Craig Lewis from across the pond. It's an amazing podcast. I try to never, ever miss Running Tales. You'll love it. We have What's in Your Earbuds. That's me and Ohm. We talk about music, some running every once in a while. We have a really, really cool community playlist. I think last time I counted, we had just under 6 hours of music on this playlist. Music from all over the world now. And if you want, shoot me or Ohm a message. We'll send you a link. You can collaborate on that podcast, on that playlist. We always like to shout out your music and your selections. We have a ton of fun. We have Caffeinated Coaching with Lori Hauk. That show is actually picking back up. Great shows, great content, tons of content coming to you. And your engagement helps us build this community. We can't do it without you. So I just want to thank you for being an integral part of this community, of this podcast network. We can't do it without you. So please do me a favor. Hit that button, hit that share button, rate button, give us a 5-star if you feel so inclined. Also, during the podcast, if you have any questions for me or Josh during the podcast, please feel free to type those in, and we will get to those questions throughout the episode. And so without further ado, let's bring Josh forward and have this great chat with Josh.
Hey, Joe.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention. So we do have a new podcast coming. It's called Enduring Minds. It will debut on November the 13th. So that's just right around the corner. It's actually a men's mental health podcast, and I'm really looking forward to sharing that with the community. So, hey, Josh, how's it going?
Hey,
Man, so thanks for coming on. Like I said, I was just really impressed the first time I met you at Jackson County 50/50, and it's been really cool getting to know you since then. But I've just figured I would just come right out of the gate, ask the big question: who is Josh Johnson?
oh man,
I know that's a tough one, right?
That's too deep. Who am I? You did a great job of introducing me. I mean, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. I'm a father, I'm a race director, I'm now a husband, which takes priority of many things in my life, and I'm a passionate ultra runner. Pretty much sums me up. I'm the assistant
Yeah,
race director for Dino, so that's why I'm here.
yeah. So before we get into dyno racing, I mean, I know that's part of the reason why we're here, but I was just kind of hoping we could just start by getting to know your running journey a little bit better, and just kind of maybe start there. Like, how did you get into running? Obviously you didn't just walk out the door one day and run rim to river, right? So maybe run us, maybe you did, I don't know. But run us through your running journey and kind of how that became ultra running.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people would probably argue that my training style is kind of just walking out the door and running big miles because I'm not very disciplined. But I was actually thinking about that quite a bit today, where my running journey started, because I figured you might pop that question at me. I think ultimately it kind of began in the park with my son. When he was a lot younger, we used to go to this park. I lived in Martinsville, if you're familiar with that town.
Yeah.
There's just a nice little park, but it had this 1.7-mile loop called Jimmy Nash Loop or Jimmy Nash Park Loop, something of that effect. But one day we just decided, hey, let's go hike that loop, and had a great time doing it. He handled it really well, and he was, I don't know, he was like 6 or 7 years old at the time. And for what that loop is, it's actually really hard. There's like no flat spots whatsoever. So that just kind of, when we went to the park, that became our thing. So we would hit that loop, and little by little, I was like, well, this is a pretty cool way to enjoy nature with my son. So we started looking to expand, and we went on these day hikes where we hit like Low Gap and areas in Morgan Monroe Forest. Since I was local to the area at the time, we'd start hiking down in those areas. And then that led to us getting into, camping at state parks and going on bigger, longer weekend hikes and things of that nature. And that eventually led us down the path of getting into backpacking. We got really big into the ultralight backpacking scene for a while. And that's led us from everywhere from the Appalachian Trail to the Wind River Range, doing the Wind River High Route, going down to the Grand Canyon. And we did the Escalante route, which is roughly a 90-mile route that we backpacked together down there. So that was really, I would say, where my running journey began, was just falling in love with more distance, more nature, more solitude. And then I think it's been years ago now. I used to be a pretty heavy smoker, and I was living this kind of like hypocritical life where I was really conscious of health and diet and the outdoors, but for some reason I just couldn't kick that habit. And one year I promised my son, it was not a New Year's revelation, but it turned out that it would kind of be one. I told him that I would quit by the next year, and I put it off all the way until New Year's Eve. But I did eventually. I set the habit down, and I think it was actually New Year's Day, I went for my first run. I had never been a runner my whole life, no background sports, anything like that. Just wasn't my thing, but I knew enough about running to be like, well, if I do a little bit here and there, I've got a little bit of weight that I could kick, and I know it will kind of kickstart the repair of my lungs and all this damage I've done. So I went out the door and went for my first run, and I think it took me like 19 minutes to do a mile at that point in time. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would stick to it or become a runner, but I stuck to it. I was like, I'm going to do it for like 2 weeks. So I did. And by the end of it, I noticed I was getting a little bit better. Like I wasn't having to stop and walk as much. So I kind of just got hooked to chasing that progress. And one thing led to another, like 1 mile became 2, became 10, became 100. So I just kind of fell in love with the sport. Eventually signed up for my first race ever, which was Tecumseh 50K. That led to a DNF. So that was my first DNF experience, was Tecumseh. I think I dropped out at mile 25. But that's been kind of the evolution of my running.
Oh wow! So your first 50K was Tecumseh, and now you race direct Tecumseh. Man, that's like
Yeah.
that's a wild full circle moment. Like
Oh,
how did
yeah.
that feel? How did that feel? Like the first year you were organizing Tecumseh after that was your first. That's just, to me that's just really cool.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, very bittersweet, I would say. Like, because there's even another layer to full circle there. That was, long story short, me and my wife ran that race together twice, not knowing at the time that we would eventually cross paths and merge together and be the potential future owners of the company. But it turned out, like, when we first met, we were looking at photos, and her current boss was in a photo directly behind me, a guy that she worked with that she's known for years, who's a dear friend of ours named Mark. I had bumped into him at the gas station, and I ended up running like the first 11 to 15 miles of the race with him, getting to know him. So it came full circle that these people were all related to who would become my wife, who would push me toward taking the job with Dino. So really bittersweet, like really cool to be like, I'm directing this event. It's like near and dear to my heart, but also obviously there's that part of me that wants to get out there and run it too. That's the
yeah,
downside of being a race director, is you don't get to play as much with your own events.
yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, this was my first year ever being at Tecumseh. I didn't get to run it obviously because I just came off of my 100-mile attempt, and I was working the finish line with the engraving. But man, it's such a cool event too. It's like a real special trail too. I mean, that's wild. Hey, congratulations putting the cigarettes down. I think I'm 4 years. Yeah, I quit smoking 4 or 5 years ago. Like the best decision I ever made. I can't believe I ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Like,
thought
I
that
can't
was
even
like a.
stand the smell of cigarette smoke anymore. It like enrages me when I'm around it now.
Oh, um, so cool. So you kind of started. You didn't really start road running at all, really. So it sounds like you just kind of went straight to like hiking and like uh,
Yeah,
backpacking and
very outdoorsy. I mean, my miles started on the road just because it's so accessible to run out
yes,
your front door, but eventually it would lead to a lot of like that trail that I did with my son. I used to work in that area, so on lunch breaks I would go hit that trail, and it became just a great little stomping ground to condition myself and improve.
cool. So maybe run me through like what was like your progression with like trail races, like mileage, like how did that kind of play out? Like you said you did Tecumseh, and then like where did it like kind of evolve from Tecumseh?
Well, so Tecumseh, I mean, that trashed me. That was a hard lesson there, where I knew nothing about nutrition or pacing myself. I'd never even done a 5K before. So ended up just getting like really nauseous and lots of puking. Turns out like I still have that problem today. I deal with a lot of just acid reflux whenever I run. So I finally figured out I need to do primarily liquid nutrition. But that, and I ended up with a really tight IT band that was causing me to limp. So that was what caused me to DNF. And I dealt with that IT band issue on and off for probably a year or two. And I eventually realized it was too much like repetition of muscles in pavement, where I was just, road was just tearing me up. When I get too high of mileage on the road, my body would just say no. If I go run trail, I feel fine. So I started doing a lot more in the trail world. I popped in a couple of like local 5Ks here and there. And I think that was kind of like an eye opener for me too, because I think I got second like the first two 5Ks I did. So I was like, whoa, maybe I'm actually okay at this thing.
Yeah,
Then I joined, I got really into the 131 summer night trail runs and winter frosty, all that stuff. Got really into doing the half marathons for that. And I kind of got hooked on like same thing. I was like, I'm actually doing okay at this, like top 20, top 10, top 5. So was just like, okay, maybe this is my jam. Like I've never really had a sport, so maybe I'm okay at this thing. So I just started really dialing in hard on that half marathon distance for trail runs, not roads. I think I've done one road half marathon, and that was like on a whim where I just ran it for fun. But yeah, I just got super hooked on seeing like, can I podium? Can I win this? And going faster and faster. And then I think I originally, if I'm not mistaken, I thought like I would never do something like Tecumseh again. Like it just wrecked me, and I was like, but as we all know, you do the real hard distance and you say never again, and next thing you know, you're signing up for another. So I came back and I did it. I think I did it 2 more times after that, but just led me to, after I saw some success, I started dabbling with the longer distances. I think I learned about ultra running and the big distances, kind of like that was where backpacking collaborated with it, because I think it was maybe like Scott Jurek when he was doing like the AT record and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
When I was like, people do that, like they go that far. So it really piqued my interest, and IT 100 was my first attempt. I ended up DNFing at mile 80, but it was one of those ones where like I thought about it, and finally I was just like, let's just pull the trigger, let's do this thing.
What do you think? What do you think's your like favorite distance so far to like go after, like accomplish or complete?
That's a good question. I would say I really like the 50-mile distance, because it's one that like I know I can go, I can get it done. It's hard, but it's not ever so hard that I question whether or not I'll finish. It's kind of my sweet spot where I get just uncomfortable enough to like not be trashed the rest of the week. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I really like that 100-mile distance too. It's what I'm more fascinated with right now. Probably just because there's so much to continually learn. Like you never know what your fate is going to be when you toe the starting line of 100 miles. Like it's always a gamble, and it's always a learning lesson and experience to just grow and get to know yourself better. I think that's probably my favorite distance. It just provides a lot more opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I feel pretty confident that I can knock out a 50 miler. It's like it doesn't completely like take over your whole weekend necessarily. You can still like I can still like drive home after a 50 miler, but
Yeah.
but now it's like now that I've like tasted going after a 100 miler and I DNF'd it, like same thing. It's like I think me DNFing it made me more curious about that mileage. So so yeah, I definitely agree with that. And yeah, 50 miles just seems like it's like a nice good number. It's like it's hard. It's still really really hard.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
you can still kind of like be whole when you're done with it. Well,
Yeah,
cool, man.
100 miles. I was just going to say that,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
whenever I DNF'd IT, I mean, it haunted me. I actually put my bib above a mirror. I let it just glare at me every day for a year. And I woke up in the middle of the night several times being like, don't quit, just keep going. So I feel
yeah,
for you and know probably that burning feeling you have going right now where like, I really just want to get it done. I know I can do it.
yeah. I actually did the same thing. I hung it up in here, so it's like the first one you see. And actually, it's like I don't feel good about wearing the IT 100 shirt, so I've got it like hung up in my closet. It's the very first shirt that I see when I open my. I'm like, I'm gonna wear that flannel shirt. It may be a year from now, but I'm gonna wear that flannel shirt. I'm gonna wear it with pride. I got
I'd
either
wear it
one.
anyway.
I
I
thought
think we
about.
all,
I thought about
I think
putting
we all
like.
kind of get those feelings.
Yeah, I thought it'd be funny to like put K behind the 100 on the flannel.
I mean, I've got apparel from races I DNF'd, and I think like we all kind of learn like it's not always about the finish. So, I mean, I'd wear it proud.
Yeah, I think I already. Uh, Josh came all over to pace me. Uh, so I think I was hoping So in the interim, we're going to do this. Maybe I'll get to actually get to know Josh better. And obviously we got sometime soon outside of the pacing. Yeah. Because I think we kind of found out recently that we don't live terribly too far from each other. So that's pretty cool.
Over in the Lebanon area.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So first, I just want to say thanks for coming out and attempting to pace me, and also thanks for like the support. There was a lot of between you and a few other friends. I got a lot of good encouragement between you and some other buddies. And that just means a lot, man. You said a lot of things that I certainly heeded, and but it just didn't come together that day.
Yeah.
That's all right. Well, so cool, man. So
coming up there, and
yeah. You still got to. I forgot his name. You still got to pace.
Scott, yeah.
Took a 6 hour nap.
6 hour nap, yeah.
Took a 6. So awesome.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Well, all right. I want to get into Dino.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of questions, and I'm sure a lot of people out there do too.
Sure.
So I've heard kind of how you got started with Dino, but I was hoping you could share that with us. How did this happen? How did you become a part of this team?
Well, it was one huge big leap of faith. But so when Brian, the current owner, decided, he's not getting any younger, so he put out a thing on social media. I think it was Facebook, just like a letter to all the participants, letting them know, there's no intention for Dino to go anywhere right now. We're not making any abrupt changes, but we are looking forward to the future of Dino, and we're looking to bring up like an assistant race director. If you want to apply, do this, do that. I saw it and I was like, man, that would be really cool, but I'm probably like the most unqualified person that would fill this out, because I've never even volunteered at a race before. I've only been in this scene for, I think I've been running like 4 years or so whenever that came out. So I was kind of hesitant about it, but I was getting to know Sam, my now wife, and our relationship was just beginning. And she really just encouraged me and continued to push me and, to chase my dreams and believe in myself and take the leap. And I was at a job that I absolutely just couldn't stand. It was a family owned and operated collision repair facility that I was a parts manager and estimator for like 14 years. It was just a very toxic environment of like lots of just like negativity and unpleasant chatter here and there. And that's the way that industry is. I think most people that work in that industry dealing with insurance companies just really don't enjoy their jobs. So I knew something needed to change. So I talked to her, prayed a lot about it, and eventually was like, all right, I'll fill out the application and submit it. And I think I literally put on the application that I was probably the most underqualified person filling it out. But if he was willing to take a chance on me, like, so be it. I'll try this thing and I'll learn. And long story short, he brought me in. I think he later would tell me that I was like the last resume out of the ones he was considering. Just no one else took the job. So I got lucky, but I'm very grateful for that. But he took a chance on me, and it's just evolved into what it is now. And part of the bringing me in was not just to necessarily have a helper, but to consider the future of the company. Because me and my wife do intend to eventually buy the company and continue it on. So that's how I got involved with Dino. It's just one big leap of faith, and it just happened to work out for me. And it's great. One of the greatest choices I ever made. Like, I don't regret it a single day. I don't think I could ever go back to a normal job. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I think that's special. You took a big leap of faith, and it worked. Like that's kind of encouraging, right? To at least to me, to take. Sometimes you just gotta full send it and see what happens. So that's so. How long has that been now? How long have you been? Sorry, I've been saying Dino, but Dino, I guess. But so how long has that How long have you
Most
been?
people say it wrong. There is an actual like on our fact thing. Is it Dino or Dino? So I said it wrong before I came into the company too. But I've been. This will be my third year now. I've
Okay,
had two
cool.
full seasons. It's kind of
Nice.
hard to keep track of because we have so many events that it just becomes this big blur. It's like, oh, 2 years, that's not that long. It's like, well, that's actually like 50 plus
Like
events that I've
50.
operated with Brian. So it's a lot.
Wow. Yeah. So I think you said it in the green room, but there's 26 events,
Our
you said?
calendar is 25. This year we did
25. Okay.
26 because we put on the Eclipse Trail Run this year, which was like a standalone event. Obviously, we can't
Yeah.
have an annual Eclipse race.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like you've been doing it 3 years, so you're well past like 50. Yeah, most people don't even like volunteer at maybe a couple in their whole life, and you've been that's impressive. Oh yeah, we have to ask because I think my own was asking what's it stand for. I'm pretty sure I know, but maybe clarify what Dino actually stands for.
So it just means do Indiana off road. Dino originated just as a single mountain bike race called the Gnawbone 90 back in like I think it was 1990, and it eventually turned into a series, and the series was called Do Indiana Off Road, and that just ended up being the name. And everyone wants to know like why is it pronounced Dino? There's no cool story. That's just the way the original owner said it, so it's been continued. The only if you watch the Flintstones, the dog,
Ah,
which is the
yeah,
dog dinosaur, his name is Dino. So sometimes we tell people that, but it's just the way it's always been said.
that's cool. Obviously, you don't have to run us through like every single race that you have in your catalog, but maybe run us through like what all because I mean there's so many events that you guys do, and it's not just trail
Yeah.
running. It's a little bit of everything. So maybe run us through like what all you guys do.
Yeah, so like I said, we've got like 25 events, and our bread and butter are we do a trail run series and a mountain bike series. Those are 6 different events, but they take place simultaneously. The trail runs will be on Saturday, the mountain bike will be on Sunday. That way we can put them at the same weekend, at the same locations, similar courses. It makes our lives a lot easier, but it's obviously a really high demand weekend. Then we've got 2 gravel bike races, one called Death March. That's pretty unique where they kind of go where they want to go, but they have to race to certain cemeteries for different points and take selfies to prove they were there. Then we've got the one coming up, Gravel. That's a 100K and 24-mile bike race. And we do some off-road triathlons. So that's pretty unique. A lot of people don't realize that
Yeah.
triathlons actually do take place off-road sometimes. Then we've got, what else do we do? The adventure races. Those are pretty unique. A lot of people don't really know what adventure racing is, but it's where you take map and compass and orienteering scores and you plot these locations on a map. You have to get to them. Might be by bike, running, maybe canoe. Like, and a lot of times they have no idea what they're going to be doing from one segment to another. They'll have to complete like 5. They get to the next, then they get their next set of instructions. Then we've got our ultras, which those obviously are my big passion there, but I love all of what we do. And then we also do timing on the side too. So if we are not busy, you want to put on a 5K or something, but you don't have the equipment, you can hit us up to come time your event. So we stay very busy with all that. And there's stuff that we intend to eventually add too. So it's me and my
Cool.
wife like to eventually bring in some coaching aspects.
Oh, cool. So coaching and that's cool. It's like I can almost see it. Not to compare like Dino to like any other like race directing company, but I could almost see it being like kind of like an era Vipa of like the Midwest, right? Because they do like everything. That's kind of like what their scope is too, right? They do, yeah. That's so cool. I think it's certainly something that I think would be really, really awesome in the Midwest and probably do really, really well in the Midwest too. Because I mean, I'm sure you agree with this, but it's like Indiana, like we have like these like gems of trails like no one really even knows about,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like And I talk about Indiana trail running and to like anybody from like the West or East Coast, or like I didn't even know that like Indiana had trails. I'm like, yeah, like we have some of those beautiful trails here. Like the community is awesome
Oh,
too. But
absolutely. I'm kind of glad you mentioned that too, because that's another thing that Brian's always done a good job with Dino is we have some staples, some places we go that are just, it's how we pay our bills. So there's some places that we go to where it's attendance is great. We're going to keep coming here, but he's always done a good job of moving some of our races around to try to highlight different trail systems and state parks and bring more awareness. So that's another cool thing that we do.
yeah, like Yellowwood. I mean, like before I heard of Tecumseh Trail Challenge, I didn't even know that park was even like I didn't get to see very much of it. But like, man, that park is like so awesome, and like I don't think a lot of people even probably even know that like that trail is even there. But so that's so cool to like kind of showcase like such a unique park too.
Oh
So
yeah, I
that's
love it too because a lot of people think Indiana's flat, and it's like come down to Yellowwood or
yeah,
Jackson into the Jackson Washington forest. Like you'll find out we've got hills.
that's what I was saying. I was literally talking about the 100K Jackson County today, and I did a podcast earlier today, and they're like asking like what my next race is. Like, it's just a few hours away, Jackson County, and they like looked it up, and they're like, "Wow, I didn't even know." I was like, "Yeah, it's like what 9,000 or almost 10,000 feet of vertical throughout the 100K,
Yeah,
which
just
is
under 10. I think it's
just under 10,
9,600.
9,600. Yeah, it's like and yeah, they're just like I didn't even know that was like a thing in Indiana. I'm like, yeah, like you go down south, like you talk about the low gap, like run the low gap, like you'll find out
Oh yeah,
really quick
you
that
get on
Indiana,
Knobstone and
yeah, the Knobstone. I just did the Knobstone, 2 weekends ago, and wow, that was tough. It didn't even seem like you were in the state. So speaking of Jackson, Jackson County that's coming up
yep,
a month from today, actually.
yep.
Tell everybody what you can about Jackson, like what's coming. There's some exciting news about Jackson too
Oh yeah.
that
So
you're working on. So
we have been pouring our hearts and souls into Jackson this year because our big goal is if we can get 100K finishers across that line, then next year people can come back and run it and it would be a Western States qualifier. And the reason for the 100K is that's the requirement to be a qualifier is you have minimum distance to be a qualifier is 100K. So we did away with the 50 mile and added one more lap. So that's been really cool. It's been really well received. It was this big audacious goal that we set and kind of just had a hunch that it would be so well received by the ultra running community. And, it's just been incredible to watch all the support and see that everyone is doing exactly what they thought we would because this community is just so incredible. I can't do it without the support of the runners. We're over 100 registered now, so that's awesome. We still need more, so if you're listening to this,
yeah,
go register. But we've got a lot of big things going for it. It's a 24-hour cutoff, so it's very approachable, even though it's got some big hills. That cutoff time means that you've got plenty of time to get it done. And then what else have we got? We've got the live tracking for it. So you'll be able to hop on your cell phone
cool.
and track the 100K runners just through a link. Then the top 5 male and female get cash. And let me, just so I don't misquote myself, I've got all the information over here. Yeah, first place is $700, second's $500, third is $300, fourth is $175, and fifth is $75. And just shout out to all of our amazing runners again there. That's been fully supported by our run community. That's not been funded by our own company. That's been people just coming forward financially supporting that. So that's really cool. And then we've got a pretty sweet belt buckle that the 100K get. And what else could I say about this race? Oh, the main aid station is in a heated facility where your drop bags are. So a little unique aspect there. Then for getting the actual accurate distance this year, it was just a 10-mile loop. So obviously we had to figure out where we're going to grab that extra 2 miles, the 100K and the 50K, because there's 100K, 100K relay, 50K, and 10 miles since it's a 10-mile loop. Those distances will actually get on a shuttle where they'll go out to the fairgrounds at the Archway at Jackson County.
Yeah.
So you guys will do a 1 mile run in, then you'll do 1 mile lap around the lake. Then you'll proceed to the main course and do your big 6 loops.
Oh, cool! I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, it's such a beautiful course. It was my first ultra distance trail run I ever did. So I'm really fired up about 100K. I want that buckle too. Those buckles look really cool.
Oh yeah, it's a pretty sweet
And
buckle.
yeah, and say what you will about running loops, but I did 3 loops last year. It didn't feel like I was running the same loop over and over again because it's such an amazing course. I think I heard someone call the trail the Little Smokies, and I think it lives up to that nickname. There's some big climbs, but some really, really cool views when you get to the top of those climbs too.
Yeah, it's a really unique course because, I mean, it's got that 1,600 foot of gain per lap, which sounds intimidating, and it should be in some aspects. But I mean, most of the course is very runnable. But when those climbs hit, they really hit.
That's what my takeaway was from last year. It's like, yeah, there was some like big tough climbs, but like once you got those out of the way, like you said, real nice and runnable and really well supported, and the vibe was really cool, and that means a lot. 24-hour cutoff, that's awesome too. I'm slow, so I'll need every bit of that.
Yeah, and we did just release and update the aid station information because we did away with one aid station this year, but that is allowing us to capitalize on the one out on the main road at Camp Road. We're going to make that one a lot better and more premium aid station experience this year.
Cool. Well, all right. I guess I have some questions about outside of Jackson.
Okay.
Just race directing, because I'm curious about race directing. I think I've bugged you a few times about the fact that I would like to eventually dabble in directing some shorter distances one day, maybe. So I just have a question about race directing. So what, like, in your time, in 3 years at Dino, you said 3 years?
Yep.
What would you say is like the most rewarding part of that experience? Because you interact with hundreds of runners, you probably get to see a lot of cool, like a lot of PRs and first time, all that good stuff. And I guess I just kind of want to know like your take on race directing, and like kind of, it's got to be really fulfilling and like rewarding, and maybe just kind of tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's kind of the main draw, and something I want to always be aware of and never take for granted is, like, yes, this is my job and it's income and livelihood, but at the end of the day, like, our entire mission as a company is that we're creating these events that give somebody something to look forward to. And, it's not so much about race day. Like, yes, we want you to come out and have this good premium experience and say that was a great race and come back. But we give people that 12 to 16 weeks of training to come out to the race. Like, whether they choose a 5K or 100K, it may be the biggest, hardest thing they've ever done. And that's where it's rewarding to me. I mean, maybe it's someone who's truly just, all about fitness and running, but a lot of people, they've replaced some of these addictions. We've got people that turns out they're a heroin addict, but now they're an ultra runner. Like, they've just, turned their life around, and a lot of these sports have saved people's lives. So it's incredible to just be a part of getting to create something that gives people this reason to chase a better them, not necessarily chasing a PR or a podium, but they're just chasing a constant opportunity to improve themselves. I think that's probably, as a race director, the most rewarding part, like just knowing that these events sometimes mean everything to somebody. So that's something that I want to always try to keep myself aware of, because it's easy to just get caught up in the grind of, we've got to do permits and porta potties and mark the course, and the weather stinks this weekend. Like, there's a lot of parts of it that aren't necessarily always enjoyable, but at the end of the day, we have to stop and remember, like, what we're doing is a really big deal, and it's really special to get to partake in doing this.
Yeah, I think that's a great sentiment. Like you said, it's a job, and like, obviously, it's probably a very, very hard job, but you're doing it. You can tell that you're doing it, that you guys are doing it because you love it. And I think that's cool that you guys are doing a really great job of providing that environment too. I think, like I said, I like, my first event with Dino was Jackson. It's like immediately I was just like, wow, this is like such a cool community. And I guess, thank you for providing that. And I know you guys, I think that's cool, man. That's a really good, I like what you guys are doing. And obviously you guys can tell that you care about what you're doing.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And I mean, it's definitely within the company. We say it all the time that Dino is a lifestyle. Like, it's not just a job, it's a lifestyle. Like, you can't do this many events if you're not an athlete yourself that loves these things. So it would exhaust you to your core.
I can only imagine. I mean, I just kind of get a glimpse of it. I have race director friends, and I can tell that you have to probably really, really love what you're doing to pull the weekends and the late, you're out in the weather or, late nights, you're marking the course. Like, you had to mark up a course, last Saturday for a training run that
was rough.
You came off of a 100-miler, then had to go mark a really tough 10-mile course. So it's definitely something you tell as a labor of love. So, cool, man. Obviously you don't have to, get too far into stuff that you don't want to talk about now with the growth of Dino, but I'm curious, what do you see? Like, what do you think, like, the future of it is? Like, where do you see the company in like 5 years? Like, you kind of mentioned, like, your dream has been to grow Dino. So maybe just run us through kind of like how you see the future of it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely a dreamer, and it's hard to not get ahead of ourselves. So as things transition, there's definitely some things that we would like to do. Like, Brian has done this incredible job of creating these events that are just annual and successful. And I think the first thing we want to do is keep, like, having so many events. It is hard with it being, I mean, we are a 2-person staff officially. Everyone else comes out and they just get commission for weekends that helps us out, or they're volunteers. So officially on staff, there's just 2 of us doing all of this. So it's really hard to zone in on every single event and make every single event this premium, huge, great experience. So we've been working really hard on, like, the ultras, because that's what I know best, to be like, well, let's try these things and see how they go over. And that's one goal moving forward, is taking, like, what's working here and, okay, let's try to copy paste it over into the biking and the adventure racing, and just keep making the events more premium, better experiences, better bang for your buck whenever you're coming out to these experiences. But then I think there's some things, I won't get into it too much, that I would really like to do ultra wise. There's some big dreams where I've got some visions that I've told you on the sidelines, but I'm going to keep those to myself for the moment. But we have looked into launching some other longer distance bike stuff, because Indiana doesn't have any really long mountain bike stuff. We've thought about putting on some type of 100-mile mountain bike race.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Then me and my wife definitely want to implement the coaching. She's certified in the nutrition area for sports, and her full-time job is she is a personal trainer. So she's really well versed and rounded in all of that. And if I would just finish my certifications, I could be a run coach. I've been working on that for a long time, but I need to get back on it. I've been definitely slacking on that one. But as soon as we do that, we would like to launch something where we take in a handful of athletes. We don't want to make it something that we've got so many people we can't give them the proper experience and attention that they need. Just taking a handful, really try to give back. Then some other things we've talked about maybe doing eventually is, me and my wife are very strong in our faith, and we would like to maybe offer some couples retreats where we tie in, like, our faith and backpacking, and maybe it's doing Indiana outside of Indiana. Maybe we have, like, some type of backpacking excursion out west or in the Red River Gorge, or a couple little things like that we think would be cool to, like, really give people an experience where maybe they don't know how to do those things, but also hopefully kind of coach and mentor them in their marriages and their faith. So that's something we've talked about maybe trying to do in the future as well. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really, really cool and like unique experience too. I think that's I remember you kind of mentioned that before. I think that's a really cool idea. And I mean, what better way, what's a better way of like kind of getting down to like the nuts and bolts of like a problem or like something that you're going through than just like being in nature too. So I think that's really cool. That's a really unique way of handling it too. I think that's really cool. I look forward to seeing where that goes. So cool, yeah. And Om did say something here. I think it's pretty cool. Om Gandhi's in the background. He's the co-owner of Run Trade Bike. He said, "I think those of us who are business owners or chasing dreams need to hear that sometimes through the daily grind that you can make things happen, but also that struggle is part of the process." That's a good sentiment, Om. Yeah. So well cool. So yeah. Man, I really like this. So I'm like kind of hooked on the adventure racing thing. I think it was like about 6 months ago, you had posted something about that King Arthur movie. So, and I watched it. Like, as soon as you posted that, I was like, I ordered it off of Amazon and I watched that movie. So I'm like obsessed with the adventure racing stuff. I'm terrible at directions, but I think that's kind of cool. So how many of those do you guys have? You have like Death March is one, right? Is Death March?
Death March is a gravel bike race. We've
just
got
a gravel bike. Okay.
So adventure races, we've got the Mission, which is an 18-hour and a what's the other? It's a 4-hour, 18-hour and a 4-hour. And that one's part of the Nationals, which is pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
And generally the Mission, that's how passionate I am about ultra running. That's where Brian really thrives. Like, he loves adventure racing. So he designs some pretty crazy courses. I mean, if you get on our website and look, you'll see pictures of people rappelling off the side of a water tower, which I'm not a fan of heights, but that was something that I got to experience with my wife. So we rappelled the side of a water tower, and that was like super cool. I never looked at a water tower the same again after that. Like, I drive by, I'd repel that like every time we see one. So we do that one. Then we've got CIA, which is a 12-hour and 4-hour. It's normally a little bit easier, more beginner friendly than the Mission, but I wouldn't say that it's always easy. The 4 hours are meant to be, approachable. You can potentially do it with your children, but the 12 and 18 hours, those can get pretty hard to where you have to cover a lot of ground and you probably won't get every checkpoint. Brian tries to create courses where you can, in theory, clear every checkpoint, but you probably won't. He tries to make them pretty hard. So
that's really cool. I'm gonna have to maybe dip my toes into one of the smaller events. I don't want to rappel off a water tower, but I'll try some of the other stuff.
Yeah, and things like that, we made it, optional. Like, if you chose not to do it, you just got dinged some points for not doing it. But it wasn't like your race was over because you were terrified of heights or anything.
Well, cool, man. Thank you for sharing all that with us. I had a lot of questions about Dino because I'm still pretty new in the trail running world, but like I said, you almost can't do an event in Indiana without doing one of your guys' events because you guys are everywhere, and it's been, and not to promote myself here, but I've had a really good time doing the work that I've done for Dino since Death March. It's been a lot of fun. So I guess I kind of having a front seat in a way with what you guys are doing. I think it's really cool. And I really enjoy kind of being kind of in the background working on some of the stuff for you guys. So obviously I really wanted
awesome job with everything. And that's another thing I should say, like, another kind of goal we have too is what we've done with you. Like, ever since meeting you and having awards, it seems like your business for awards has just exploded. And that's another thing we're looking to do too, is as we engage in relationships and, things that we have to hire other people to do, how can we get to know our athletes and support them too?
Yeah, and kudos to that, because it's not just me, right? You guys are bringing in Timmy, great photographer. I had a chance to meet the graphic design artist, Michael. You guys are bringing in like all these local people, and I think that's really cool. And I think that speaks a lot to who you are as a company. You could have went any number of places to do any of those things. And I think it's really unique that you guys are honing in on local businesses, and I think that's obviously going to show through in the quality of your guys' events too. Like that you guys care about the local community. So I guess that's just a thank you from me and whoever else you guys are working with. Great crew of people too that you guys are bringing in that are doing all this stuff. So I think that's kind of cool, man. And yeah, I guess just a thank you. Thanks for bringing me in on that. It's been huge helping me grow my side business. So I'm just appreciative of those opportunities.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah. So cool. We don't have a whole lot of time. These are never long enough. Each podcast I think could be way longer, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I do want to give you a chance to first of all tell everybody, where you can find the Dino events. There's a lot of events. So maybe shout those out. I mean, like you said earlier, we got a month till Jackson County. I suggest doing that race to anybody that's listening. It's a really, really awesome event, and it's got some special things coming. Like Josh mentioned, it could possibly be a Western States qualifier next year. It looks like it's headed that way, and I think that's really cool to have a Western States qualifier in Indiana. I think that's really awesome. I think it's going to bring a lot of good attention to Indiana trail running too, which, like I said, it's kind of a slept-on state for trail running. I'm really glad that like all these events are building and coming to Indiana. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, and obviously Indiana Trail 100 is a Western States qualifier, but we're trying to bring the unique aspect of being the only 100K, because I don't even know. I could be mistaken, but I don't know of a 100K Western States qualifier within a 6-hour drive from where I live. So,
yeah. I guess I meant to say, IT 100 is a Western States qualifier. I didn't mean to take away from that, but I think it's cool to see more of this stuff coming.
But yeah, anybody interested in getting to know us better, I mean, you can go to dinoseries.com. Most of our events are more central Indiana, but however, we go all the way to South Bend. The mission is probably going to be down in Obannon State Park this year. So, I mean, we go all over the state. We're exclusive to Indiana right now. In years past, we've gone outside of Indiana before, but it's been kept within the boundaries of Indiana for a while now. But chances are we have something within an hour or two drive that we put on near your area. But then we also have Instagram. That's just Dino Series. We have some of our events that are more standalone. We have some Instagram pages too that you can find if you go to the website.
Yeah, Jackson County Ultras has its own page. Tecumseh Trail Challenge has its own. Gravel's got its own page.
Another great way for people to get more involved too. We do have, if you're on Facebook, if you search Dino Athlete Group, that's where it's just a group where anyone interested in anything that we do can come talk, ask questions about courses, past experiences. Just say, hey, anybody want to go run this course or this area from my area? Like, it's been I think we're around like 1,200 people in that group right now. So it's been pretty cool to see everybody get involved with that.
Yeah, and you guys are pretty active on Indiana Trail Running Association too. So I guess you guys could find the events on their page too. The ITR group, they're a great group of people also. Well, cool, man.
If you're on any of those forums, you probably see me posting all the time. So
yeah. Yeah, out there spreading all these cool events, man. Yeah, man. So thanks for sharing. Thanks for coming on the podcast, first of all.
Thanks for having me.
And we're going to catch a mile soon, very soon. Yeah, cool. So like Josh said, you can find these events Dino Racing. There's tons and tons of stuff that like I said, Tecumseh Trail Challenge, Jackson County Ultras is coming up soon. There's a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, man. So Josh, thank you for your time. It means a lot to come on. It's been cool getting to know you the last year. I look forward to getting to know you some more. I look forward to catching some miles soon. And I'm looking forward to coming and knocking out Jackson County 100K. I'm coming back for twice the distance that I went last time. It's an amazing trail, and I'm really fired up about it. And but yeah, so thanks for coming on, Josh. Thanks for listening, everybody. It means a lot. And give Josh a follow. Give these events a follow. You won't be disappointed. So thank you so much for tuning in. So if you could like, share, rate, and review the podcast. We need all the help we can get spreading the word. And thank you so much for tuning in to Beyond the Finish Line. And I will see you next time on episode 17. We have a special guest coming then too.